Hello everyone. One common question I get asked a lot is, what is the miles per gallon on an Audi TTS? How much does it cost to fill up and how much fuel do you use? Now I want to say a disclaimer first of all. Unlike most people, I don't drive their car, well, I don't think most people have a TTS drive their car in economy, but if you have a TT diesel, it's obviously going to be much more fuel efficient. But I don't drive in economy, never ever used it in my life. I'm always on dynamic, individual, or sports gearbox. That's it. That is the only ones that I'm on. So the most efficient mode that I'll be on will be, for example, individual with comfort suspension, exhaust sound open, and the rest on dynamic. That is the, I suppose you can say, the most fuel efficient you could be without losing the power. Then also the stop and start, I turned it off. A lot of people always ask, oh, stop and start, they're made to last X amount of time. I don't care what people say. The fact is that puts just a lot of stress on your engine, your gearbox oil. You got to change it more often. Some people are going to dispute this. They're going to say parts are being tested for many years, but it's the most ridiculous system ever. Number one, in a car like this, it just turns off every single time you're on a red light. Now already your throttle response is quite bad in the Audi TT. It's quite known. This is the Mark 3 8S, so this is the pre-facelift model before the OPF filter, and it's a 6-speed gear, and you can already tell with this car that it kind of is a bit sluggish to get going. So the start and stop, I have turned it off. I don't care about saving a couple of pence. I think you save like up to 3%. It's up to 7, but it's like 3% realistically. You might save £50 a year, if that. So that's why it won't be the most fuel efficient method. Now, what I would recommend doing is, if you do want to drive an economy, go use it on economy gearbox, whatever. Now I wanted to make clear what way I drive, because I'm going to give you what miles to the gallon I have. So the mile to the gallon that I have, let's say on town driving, now bearing in mind I'm in London, your mileage will vary if you're like on B roads a lot of the time. I get 14 miles to the gallon. Now bearing in mind that is V power, that's of course E5 V power, or super unleaded, like to call it, 98 run. I'm getting about 13, I would say, to 15 miles to the gallon is what I would say. But again, when I drive my car, I'm enjoying it. I'm like, well, not one of those nutters that sits in the car with my AC off. So that's probably town. Now don't forget, it's London, it's a lot of start and stop traffic. You could probably go and get, like, I would say if you drive it maybe in efficiency, you can probably get up to 22 miles to the gallon. I would say that would be the maximum you can get in an Audi TTS. Maybe an RS would be similar as well. Maybe the TT you might get a bit more. Maybe if you put stop and start and you're very careful about the way that you drive, it could last longer. Now for a full tank, it costs about 100, right now with the petrol prices, it's about 120, 130. To be honest, I'm not really filled up from empty to a full tank. I always fill up when it's halfway through. So I'm guessing about 120, 130. Now the fuel prices are quite expensive right now in the UK, so that will come down. Again, I'm using E5 Shell. So if you went to Tesco, if I filled up a fuel tank, did the maths, I might save 10, 15 pounds. So if I really did care about the money, instead of going to Shell V-Power, I would go to Tesco, get super unleaded, or what do they call it, Momentum 99. It's all 98 run anyway. I would go get Momentum, and I'll save about £15 on a tank. So if I wanted to reduce my money that way, I could go. Now, to be honest, with V-Power, I stay with it. It depends what version of the car you have. I have the 6-speed pre-facelift, pre-OPF, so it depends. You got dual injections, but without getting into too much of the headache, with me, I don't need a turbocharger that bad, but I still put Shell V-Power in. I'm only going to put V-Power in or Tesco Momentum, but this car definitely likes V-Power. But I know on the 7-speed with a direct injection, people are reporting, you might see it's quite common that people are saying that the turbochargers make a big difference. So something just to bear in mind. So yes, if you want to, you can go cheap. If you've got the regular TT, you can probably just get away with normal E10, but I would probably still suggest E5. So again, I'm getting 13 to 15 miles to the gallon in the city. Now, if I'm driving on the motorway, now let's say I'm putting it in cruise control, that's when it's actually quite good. With the AC on and everything, I'm probably getting about 25 to 30 miles per gallon. Now I know for a lot of people they're going to be thinking that's not a lot, but I think for a sports car that is pretty decent in the motorway. I mean, look, if you really wanted the most fuel efficient, go get, for example, an Audi TT, the diesel variation. Even though diesel price have gone up, you probably get like 40 miles to the gallon on that car. Now the thing is, I've got the 6-speed gear, so the 7-speed gearbox, you can argue, is a bit more fuel efficient. So if you're asking, technically speaking, the newer version of this car, although it sounds worse, is a bit more fuel efficient with that 7th gear. So you might see, for example, over like a long, let's take an hour long drive on a motorway, you could probably get 35 maybe, I would say, if you are using the newer version of the car. But I said, I drive the car how it's meant to be driven. I drive it in dynamic all the time. I've got my AC on. I'm not stressing too much about turning the AC off. At that point, in my opinion, there's no point driving the car. But that's how much it cost. Apart from that, do I need to, I don't put anything else in the car. I mean, something you have to note as well. If you are driving in the town, there's a lot of stop and start traffic in London. I think it's not, people are going to probably get shocked, but I don't think it's too bad getting 15 miles per gallon in London traffic. On the outskirts of London, maybe it can sometimes go towards 19, but realistically, you're going to be in traffic all day long. AC is going to be on, so it's going to be a headache. On the motorway, I said, I get about, on a good day, I'll get about 27. And right now, it is like an hour, like a 1 hour test, no traffic. I use cruise control, 70 miles per hour. And I got 27 miles to the gallon. So I'm pretty sure if you're a bit more efficient, I don't think anyone's going to do it, but if anyone is really that obsessed, they'll drive 60 miles per hour. I think that's the most fuel efficient, if I'm not mistaken, with rolling speed, and you can probably get a higher miles to the gallon. But whatever you do, do not drive in the third overtaking lane like some idiot was doing on the way here, driving 60 miles per hour in the third lane, overtaking lane. But yeah, that is pretty much it. The price will probably come down. But I would recommend Shell V-Power. I know it's a bit more expensive. Do I notice a difference? I would say slightly. I would say there's more hesitation on, even though you can argue it's not much of an impact for me on this version of the car, but I think with the Shell V-Power, the problem with the TTSs, I made a video on this on my channel, go check it out, the throttle response can be a bit delayed. So I've done that. And I said to you, look, you can be one of those guys that drives in economy. I think the car kind of disengages the gear when you're rolling, and you could do all that. But to be honest, to save 10, 15 pound, it's not the end. If I really cared about that much about fuel efficiency, I will go drive a diesel or an electric car. So it's important that I be honest, because I think people see some crazy numbers, that they see like 38 miles to the gallon on the motorway maybe, and they might see, for example, 25 miles to the gallon in town. It's not really realistic for normal everyday driving, unless you want to either be freezing cold in the winter or boiling hot in the summer. But that is basically how much it costs in terms of an Audi TTS of the fuel prices. Thanks for watching, and of course I'll catch you next video.